and good morning and welcome to the program. I'm your host, George Rideout, and as always, working the soundboard is Lynn. Born in Northern Ireland, Michael Tsarion is an expert on the occult histories of Ireland and America. He has made the deepest researches into Atlantis, the origins of evil, and into the Irish origins of civilization. Author of the acclaimed book Atlantis, Alien Visitation and Genetic Manipulation, and is the producer and presenter of the Origins and Oracle series, which explores ancient mysteries and forbidden knowledge. His many appearances on metaphysical radio and TV programs, along with his lectures and workshops, have given rise to the name Teacher's Teacher. To visit Michael's amazing websites, one of the best sites I have come across myself, log on to www.michaeltsarion.com. He is metaphysician extraordinaire. He is Michael Tsarion, and we are lucky to have him here with us this morning. Are you there, Michael?
Yes, George. How are you doing? Nice to be here.
Oh, it sure is nice to have you. We talked a little bit off air there, and I told you I watched two of your videos last night. They were truly awesome. I just had to tell you, they're just incredible.
Thank you. Which ones were those?
I watched the 2012 and the Origins of Evil.
Thank you. Yeah. Can you believe that you watched these online, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Origins of Evil wasn't even planned. You know, there's about over 100,000 people have seen that just in like about 2-3 months period, and you know, I get a lot of compliments for that particular presentation, and yet, you know, again, it was a fluke that it was even filmed. So, you know, that just shows you how fate works.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, you're the author of 3 books so far. Is that correct?
Well, there's a whole bunch of books, you know, that I'm working on. One is actually available, and there'll be 2 more available this spring. Well, actually 3 more coming out in spring. Hopefully, if all goes well, of course, you know. But yeah, right now. We have the DVD series, which is 6 box sets, and also 1 book, which is the book on Atlantis. Those are available to the public right now.
Now, you've given so many presentations, workshops, and classes on things from Western magical tradition to indigo children to psychic vampires, symbol literacy, origins of evil, the Irish origins of civilization, subversive use of sacred symbolism in the media. I tell you, man, your research drawer must be incredibly full.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's too full, and you know, have to do a lot of presentations, and you know, it takes away from, you know, doing the books. But if you do the books, then it takes away from, you know, doing live presentations. So I'm always anxious to, you know, do radio shows like this one. Everything in life is about keeping a sort of a happy medium and making sure that, you know, you're producing information and working on what you love, but also that, you know, you're not just sitting in the dark. I mean, you know, the radio, the media, the internet, you know, what good is it if people are studying these things, but it doesn't actually get broadcast to the world, you know? So I'm always anxious to do good radio shows, but, you know, I say no to a lot of gigs. I say no to a lot of different, you know, opportunities because, you know, I just don't feel that the integrity is there or whatever, you know, so I have to screen a lot of different people, you know, but I saw your site, you know, checked out your show, I really liked it, so... You know, I'm always anxious to work with people, but, you know, they have to be the right kind of people as well.
We sure appreciate you having you here because, yeah, I'm the same way. You know, I like to have guests that same thing, that not only do I want to hear what they have to say, but I want other people to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, this is the key thing, you know. And I tell people that who are also very pessimistic. You know, I get a lot of emails, and some of them, you know, tend to say, you know, hey, I'm like you, I study these things, but when I'm talking to, you know, my friends and my colleagues about these kinds of subjects, they just completely ostracize me, or they call me a crank, or, you know, they make fun of me and so on. You know, how do you keep up doing it? How do you keep your optimism? You know, so I get a lot of that, and my response is, you know, that just it doesn't really matter that other people like that respond in that way. This is sacred knowledge. And therefore, you're going to have, you know, resistance. But that's when the test is whether you really love the knowledge for itself or what it's going to bring you. And, you know, I think about, you know, there's a lot of people in this world that are into the subjects, any subject, but certainly these occult subjects, because, you know, it brings them a certain ego fulfillment. And therefore, when they're troubled and when suddenly the subject matter starts to test them, or when fate starts to test them, you know, then they back off and they get pessimistic and they kind of wish they'd never started, you know. But I really love this information, and it's something that I've always done all my life, long before any type of public notoriety or anything like that ever happened. And I'd still be doing it regardless of that. So it's just about whether you love it or not.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm exactly the same way. And I remember you saying on one of the shows that you started like when you were 13 or something. And for me, same thing. My first mentor came into my life when I was 12. And so it's been like I've been doing this kind of thing all my life. And it's a thing for me that I think is so important right now, that you have to do what you are. And you have to live your truth, and no matter what that is. And I think also that when a person does that, the universe will take care of you.
Absolutely. Wasn't it Charles Lindbergh when he was flying across the Atlantic, and they said, how is it possible for you under all that stress, with days and days and days of not sleeping before you left, and then you're cooped up in this tiny, tiny little airplane, how did you manage to stay awake for those 3 days, 72 hours or more? How is it possible? He said, when you really need it, unseen forces come to your aid. If you're doing what you love, if what you're doing really matters, you will be assisted. And pretty much that's the story of my life, because there are a lot of challenges on the road. You do get put off. People around you, will question what you're doing and try to force you into the, consensus trance and try to bait you. And there's a lot of adversarial energy that can occur. So, again, the fundamental thing is that you have to do it because it's your bliss. If this is something you're just, doing because, for any other reason, then you will have to stop. It'll either destroy you or it will cause you a great deal of sorrow. So, being a servant of the truth doesn't mean you know the whole truth. This is what a lot of people also, maybe I get emails from people, saying, hey, man, you keep on saying that you know the truth, or, you keep using that word. What gives you the right, And I keep saying to them, but I don't say I know the whole truth. You can serve truth, but you still, maybe don't know the whole thing. To all intents and purposes, you are a person who's trying to deal with what is real. Sharpen your intuition, sharpen your reason, weigh everything that comes in front of you, study knowledge, get your discernment sharp so you can tell what is false,
Yeah.
Pursue the truth. It doesn't mean that you are the truth or that you know the whole truth, or that you're moving from that kind of egotism, but there is a sacred archive of knowledge that is within every person, and we have been given a reason to know what is right. And most of the world, couldn't care less about that. People who do, they can find themselves very much in a kind of a wilderness, thinking that they're alone. And therefore, the internet right now, and DVDs and radio shows, and it's very important for us to use these kinds of means so that people who are also struggling and looking for the light do not feel that they're completely alone, because they otherwise could feel like that.
Same here. It's something I hear a lot about, people saying that, they're so alone, they have nobody to talk to. And then when they find somebody, they just kind of want to latch right onto you because they're, they don't have anyone else to bounce things off or to share with. And I myself just feel very blessed because through it all, I've always had a number of people that I was able to walk the road with. And in that, it's just amazing how much of a blessing that really is.
Well, that really is a blessing. I also agree with that. And, this is one of the projects that I'm working on is about psychic vampirism, and what you said there actually contains a lot of wisdom, and that is because that there wouldn't be such a phenomena as any kind of vampirism, any kind of energy vampirism at all, if there were not children of the light. Because it is children of the light, people who have an intense light, an intense love, who are inner directed, who are auto-generated, people who are motivated themselves. It is those individuals who are the most affected by the negative attentions of other people. It's a very strange quirk of fate. But, the person who's already dark and has no energy is obviously not the victim of psychic vampirism to any great extent. It's a situation, as I've been studying this, I find that it's people of a certain kind of genius, a certain kind of spirit, and a certain kind of power. And even if I may say it's an abused word, but I'm going to say it, a certain kind of superiority, a moral superiority. Mm-hmm. We've so trashed that word that we forget that there are morally superior beings on earth.
Yeah.
And those individuals are going to be beset by those who see that light, and they want to plug into it. And I find that people on the spiritual path, one of the reasons why a lot of them give up is because they get surrounded by these kinds of individuals, or they already have that kind of adversarial energy in their life, and they don't know how to deal with it or cleanse from it. So this is a big question. We have a blog. People can go to my blog and see comments from people. We're working on this vampirism project, and it's just a really fascinating subject for those who are interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's just so cool how this has already started this morning, because it's exactly the thing I wanted to start off with this morning. I want to read a little paragraph that you have on your site, because it's just awesome, and it's about psychic vampirism. The man who has murdered his own self becomes a predator who lives to consume what others create. The self-murdered person is the greatest threat in the world, and is both violent and destructive toward himself and to everyone he encounters. He can occupy positions of little importance or of the greatest importance. He can destroy a single life or that of a world. He cares nothing for the trail of destruction and ruin that he leaves, only for the satiation of his insatiable appetite. He seeks you in all that is yours. Wow, that is just pretty heavy. And
did I write that? I must have forgot. That is heavy.
But it's so true. And what is exactly a psychic vampire, and how do we recognize them?
Well, it's impossible to say. It's not one thing. It's not one thing. And one of the reasons why I've taken so long, because I've studied this subject all my life and have been very, very hesitant, George, to even do anything about printing this or, writing about it or doing a DVD. With all the other work that I've done, that the road to a book or the road to a DVD, has been pretty obvious. It's just, of course, taken the hard work to do it. But, it's been quite easy to say, okay, this would make a good program that other people are interested in. With the psychic vampirism thing, I've had to be very cautious because, you see, it's one of those subjects that can easily be manipulated in various ways. And it's because of the ambiguity of what you're talking about. And let me explain exactly what I mean by this so that, because we'll make radio history here because it's the first time I've ever mentioned this or said it. If you don't present this information correctly, then the wrong kind of people can get off the hook because of their deeds.
Yes.
In other words, there's a penchant within all human beings for denial, for copping out, and not facing who they are. So if you don't present a subject like psychic vampirism correctly, and people go around thinking, oh, well, all my problems are caused by X, well, then, you caused a lot of problems because you just fed somebody with the whole accusation model to be running around saying, oh, but that person's a psychic vampire. Oh, I bought a book on a spinner rack, in Kinko's or wherever, and it told me all about these energy vampires. So I've noticed that, in the past, with certain websites and certain books on this subject, this is what they kind of are, maybe consciously or unconsciously. They create this little, cliche in which people can live by saying, well, see, I can't do anything. It's impossible for me to get what I want or do what I want or be a good person because, you see, there's all these people around sucking my energy. So I got to be very careful, you see, that you don't provide yet another denial mechanism for individuals. Yeah. But at the same time, there is actually a bona fide philosophy of energy vampirism, and it's been in the world for a long, long time. The Bible talks about it. Ancient religions talk about it. The myths and legends certainly talk about it, and it is a phenomenon that is occurring in our society, very close to home sometimes. And therefore, I feel like it needs to be known to the world. But at the same time, the last thing that I want to provide for people is this whole other denial mechanism to get them off the hook of responsibility. Because this world is just itching to get off responsibility, and, responsibility as itself is a huge psychological crisis in our world.
Yeah.
So, there's a certain responsibility I feel then for bringing this forward, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it very deliberately and, working out the right format for it, the right way to deliver this information so that it doesn't get is misused, by people, and if it is, then you catch them on it and go, wait a minute, that's not what this person's talking about. They're not talking about you, being in a state of irresponsibility.